Hello everybody, here we are in southeast Ecuador in the humid tropics. Although, to be honest, it was a lot more humid in the summer in Connecticut when I lived up north than it ever gets here. Here it's more of just a constant humidity that you don't notice a whole lot, whereas in Connecticut it'd be super dry all winter, and then the summer came. In the middle of the summer there'd be this horrible humidity that felt like you were swimming in the air, which we never get here. But anyways, the humidity is relevant because we're applying linseed oil on this interior wall in this house. It's a hardwood wall. The wood is mostly dry, except the beams are actually not that dry, a lot of them, but the planks are dry. We measure them with a moisture meter. They have less than 10% humidity still in them. Anyway, so we painted the linseed oil, and some people using linseed oil in the humid tropics have negative experiences because it doesn't dry properly. It gets sticky. And sometimes grows little dots of black mildew. There's none here. I'm just showing you. Like it would be like little speckled dots all over it. For example, if it were to happen here, which it didn't, not yet at least. Anyways, so we've had some trial and error situations, and basically what we found the best thing to do, right? The best things to do. So we're using boiled linseed oil, not raw linseed oil. I don't think I would use raw linseed oil in the humid tropics just because it's even less stable. And the thing about boiled linseed oil products, when you buy boiled linseed oil from the store, it's not pure 100% linseed oil. It's mostly, like probably 99% linseed oil, and that has been boiled to increase the shelf stable, to make it more shelf stable. And then they also add some preservatives to it, like a small amount of preservatives, again, to keep it stable and stop it from basically rotting, going rancid or growing mildew in it, right? So if you're looking for the absolute 100% perfect product, then you would use raw linseed oil, and then you would dilute it with citrus solvent, which is organic citrus solvent. However, we don't have just like millions of dollars of here to throw around on importing special products all the time. So we bought what was available, which was boiled linseed oil, and we diluted it with regular solvent, mineral spirits. So what we have here is we first heated up the linseed oil in a pot on the stove. You got to be careful because it's flammable. We heat it up, for example, we would heat up 1 liter of linseed oil on the stove, and then once it was super hot, we would mix it with 4 liters of solvent, mineral spirits, right? Paint thinner, basically, right? We mix that together, and then we paint it onto the wall very thoroughly. That we heat it up because it helps it absorb into the wood more, and we dilute it so heavily because, again, it also helps it absorb into the wood more. Otherwise, you get this stickiness that stays there, and it absorbed into the wood pretty well. This was painted basically 2 days ago. It's already showing signs of it's being less dark and the wood is sucking it in. Anyways, you paint it on, and then it's important 10 to 20 minutes after you paint it on, you rub it with a rag all over everywhere. You just buff it heavily with a rag, and the idea is to get all the excess off so it doesn't have any sticky residue. Now, the people that did this, unfortunately, the beams, they didn't rub it as well as they should, or it's possible that because the beams were already painted with linseed oil once, they couldn't absorb as much. So either way, it should have been buffed more because there is this very slight stickiness here, but that's not an issue because we're going to deal with it right away. On Monday or Tuesday, we're going to come through with another rag with just solvent on it and rub the stickiness off or sand it a little bit, right? The walls ended up being really nice. There's no stickiness at all. There's a very slight oily texture because the oil is kind of absorbing into the wood and drying, right? But hopefully the way it is right now, it's going to dry nicely and we're not going to have any issues. We may wait like a week and put another coat and see what happens. We're also going to do this on the exterior of the house. You can see this wall hasn't been done yet, but this wall has. So we're going to continue going and then do the exterior. It is supposed to help protect wood from UV and help stop the dry rot. Now, linseed oil is good at preventing dry rot. Like, if you have old wood, after being exposed to the elements, the surface of the wood will turn gray, right? Because basically, what you're seeing is dry rot on the surface. It's just getting gray. What's breaking it down? Well, the elements, the humidity, also the sun, the UV, which is very strong here, because we're at 3 degrees from the equator, so there's fewer degrees of reflection. The sun's rays are very strong, right? So you could get on the outside of the house, areas where it's basically exposed to the sun all day. You could have the wood turn gray like it would if it wasn't treated properly, or you could treat it with linseed oil. It's supposed to help resist that, or some other kind of varnish. And then again, in a few years, you do it again, like maybe 4 or 5 years. It would give it a light sand and treat it again, just so it continues protecting it. Now, you can also use commercial products, of course, like varnish and things like that. Now, My personal preference is to not use that stuff so much because, for example, if you put the varnish on your house on the outside, the sun's beating down on it, it's basically breaking it down in these little microplastics or whatever, and it's powdering off of your house slowly, and in a few years it's going to be gone, and you're going to have to treat it again. But where did it go? It went into your soil. So again, it's not really a big deal, and a lot of people use those products, and it's one of those things. It's a nitpicking thing. I prefer to be a bit more perfect in regards to that. On the other hand, varnish is a really great product. It's really easy to use. You don't have to worry about it not soaking into the wood properly and getting moldy and sticky. Typical water-based or varnishes that you would buy at the hardware store. And they do look nicer and they have more of a gloss. Linseed oil doesn't provide any gloss. And they also protect against insects a little bit better. Now, linseed oil doesn't really protect against insects. Now, this wood, we don't really need to protect against insects. It's super strong tropical hardwood. It's kind of accurate. There's no insects that are going to eat into this or this. But still, if we had insect issues, we could treat it. We could treat it with something else. We could treat it with borax first, or a water-based thing, or any number of chemical treatments. But again, with this type of wood we're using, it's not really necessary. The best thing to do is to use wood that doesn't have insect problems. But things like stain, like petroleum-based stain or varnish are a bit better against helping against insects than just linseed oil. Linseed oil, the main thing is for preventing dry rot, and the wood just stays nice. It just protects it, and it looks nice for longer, and it's a more natural product. Yeah. So at Fruit Haven, some of the houses are treated with linseed oil, and some of the houses are treated with a varnish. Stain or varnish with a glossy coat on it. The varnish looks really, really nice, so I don't want to recommend against using that. It just kind of depends on your personal preference. And either way, no matter what you use, you're going to have to reapply it again in some years. The sun's beating down on the side of the house. You want to keep the wood protected. If I can think of anything else interesting to say about wood treatment, I'll make another video. That's all I got for now. Come to the Amazon Fruit Festival, January 17 to 23, 2022. This coming January, it's the 4th annual Amazon Fruit Festival, so it's going to be awesome. And if you use the discount code, the coupon code Plant a Tree, that's Plant a Tree, all one word, all lowercase, you get $50 off of your ticket. Now, I believe most of the other discount codes people are giving off of $25 off their ticket. So if you use mine, you get $50 off. So my discount code is better than everybody else's discount code. All right. Yeah, I have some secrets as to how I managed to convince the AFF High Council to do that. There's some reasoning behind that, which I don't really, this is outside of the scope of this video to explain. But the important thing to remember, save more money if you use my discount code, because the discount is higher. You get $50 off, not $25. The wind's getting a bit crazy. We're gonna have to replace this big piece of ugly black plastic with some nice shade cloth or a roof extension. I just put it on here to protect the wood from the sun, so the sun's not beating in the house all day. Anyways, have a great day, everybody. AmazonFruitFestival.com, FruitHaven.org, LibertyHomesteads.com, and TerraFruitis.com.